this is the job here. Sand swim render and a wee blast with the refina powerfloat from Avonstock. But basically guys, I'm using this with the hand float, and the reason for that is it's quite warm, and I actually really appreciate the powerfloat when the render's tightening up. I find it gives you a boost. It seems to bring stuff back to life. So sort of using it along with the with the hand float, sort of hand float and power float together. So if I find there's an area drying, next to the corners are getting hit a wee bit more by the wind and by the sun, they're not sheltered as much with the shade of the scaffold, so next to them areas we're brilliant with the power float. Again, I don't really use it as much if the stuff's too wet. I'll just go nice and easy and use my experience with the float. Again, like I was saying in a previous video, using a nicely broken in float is key. I've always said that, I've always found that. And again, the more experience you'll get and the more you use your float, the better your float will become. But if you are new, you might want to slightly round in the edges of the float, just so that it doesn't dig in. A new float, even for somebody who's doing it day in, day out, they'll dig in with a float. You know, even a good float they'll dig in with, a professional will dig in. So if you have done that and you're only new, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world, you know. So this is just a quick pass with that power float, and obviously there's still a couple of wee low spots there that missed, but previous video up top was power floated and just finished with the hand float. Again, it's really up to yourselves. It's, you know, if you're thinking about getting a power float, they can be expensive. And again, how much rendering are you going to do? How big's the job? How easy will it make your life? It's, you know, it's all going to be down to what do you think yourself. I don't think it's a DIYer's tool. I think it's definitely for pros. I have other tests I want to do with this float. I don't want to say too much. Don't want anybody getting there first. But I do have other things in mind for this float. And you can see, you know, if you go nice and easy, if your stuff's wet, it can work good. I prefer it when it's, you know, I like rubbing my stuff when it's a bit soft. It's a bit easier on the arm, on the elbow, on the shoulder, on the wrist, on the hand, on the body in general. It's just that bit easier if you rub early. But I tend to find, like I said earlier there, if it does start getting a bit crusty on the surface, especially you can see the sun, the areas I'm going, you actually can see the outline where I've sort of started to try to rub here is actually where the sun's hitting and the shadows. So you can see why I'd prefer to use the power float on them, get them rubbed in a bit first, and then I can always touch up with the hand float and a sponge float, or, you know, like I said, some car sponges are very nice for finishing render. So again, it's all down to your style and your taste. You know, if you are doing your own wee garden wall, you might not want to buy a sponge float, bit more expensive, but like I said, they do give you a bit more control on finishing. Especially if you're DIY, sponge float might be that bit better for you than a car sponge, you know. But it's all down to what you have, what you can get, I suppose, sometimes as well. And you can see in the shadows it's that bit wetter, so I've opted for the float here. Have a bit more control on the float sometimes than the power float, on the wet areas especially. Now, again, there is sponge attachments for the power float that will allow you to finish the render. It's all down to taste as well on how you finish it and what type of sponge you have. They have, Refina themselves have lots of different sponges, coarse ones and fine ones. I've yet to actually use the fine one, but I know the coarse one works very well just for flattening in also. So my question to you guys would be, what would you like to see with the power float you know. I've done quite a couple of wee videos now on it. Again, not a tool, a bit like a spatula, it's not always a tool I always go for, but when I do choose to use it, it does help me out big time. So, you know, it's one of them tools that I would definitely rather have it on the scaffold at the ready to go, and that way I know if the gear starts picking up, I have something that, you know, I can get round it a bit quicker, so it's like an option thing. But basically my question to you is, how would you like to see it in more detail? And if you have any questions about it, definitely ask there. For instance, I would definitely opt, if you were thinking about a powerfloat, I'd definitely go down the line of getting a battery powered one. As look at the scaffold bars here I'm working around, and getting the lead up top here just wouldn't be fun. Definitely a lot handier with a cordless powerfloat. It gets in around them bars down low, you know. I was getting around them comfortable enough. Just imagine a lead. The trip hazard alone on a scaffold wouldn't be worth it that much. Although this job was chipped off and there was leads on up there with Kangos, but I don't think they've got a battery powered Kango yet that has the power to chip off any rounder unless it's pretty loose. I mean, it has the DeWalt one, but again, it's not something, you know, that battery and that drill, I'm pretty sure you would burn it out if you used it too much. The DeWalt Kango would be something, or chip and hammer would be something that you'd probably rather keep for the odd wee track, or, you know, bit of render sticking out, just to be hog full and chip it off and fill it out and go ahead. Or again, you know, might sort of use it for stripping off some tiles or something that's not going to stress it too much. So yes, there has been leads up on the scaffold, but powerfloat, you're doing a lot of walking about, you're moving left to right. You know, definitely wouldn't recommend a leaded one. Again, yeah, there's no harm in it. At least you're not going to run out of battery. But I find this cable here, actually, with that battery, it only used 1 bar. And yes, I didn't use it for the whole job, but I did use it on every lift and on every dry section. So it was used on a peak and then 3 other lifts. Well, ground floor and 2 other lifts. So, you know, it's testament to the battery. Battery did well. Only using 1 bar, and the next day, I think my mate, he used that same battery to mix up a pile of render for reveals, and I think he was doing a wee Hummer and stuff. So it's, you know, the batteries are good as well. So, but again, if you're gonna go cordless, I would recommend making sure you get 2 batteries. And if you're ever panicking, you just keep 1 battery on charge and keep changing them, interchanging them, and you'd have that on charge somewhere safe out of the way, you know, in the corner. You don't have to be tripping over wires and stuff. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Definitely a tool, like I said. Rather have it on the scaffold. If I feel a part's getting away from me and it's not soft, why burn all that energy and just whack the powerfloat on and get it all finished up that way. And as well, any questions on rendering, sand, cement, you know, I'm here. Always try to reply to every single comment possible, but that is hard. Sometimes YouTube actually puts them in a funny, you know, box where I have to actually go and review them, even though there's been no bad language in them. So still figuring that out. So, but I will eventually get to you. I'll always drop you a reply.